Today, PRIMM, Nevada, is a near ghost town. Its legendary casinos shuttered, its once bustling outlet mall left hollow, and its identity fading into desert silence. But the tragic downfall of PRIMM, Nevada's deserted casinos wasn't just inevitable. It happened fast, and for reasons that few outsiders ever saw coming. How did a family-built empire, born from the vision of Ernest J. PRIMM and crowned by record-breaking attractions like the Desperado Coaster, rise to dominate the last stop before Las Vegas, only to collapse under competition, corporate churn, and brutal economic shifts? To understand how an oasis of neon dreams first seduced and then abandoned thousands along Interstate 15, we have to go back to when PRIMM was just a name on a lonely sign. In the barren stretch where Nevada meets California, there was once only a scattering of gas pumps, a coffee shop, and a handful of slot machines. The place was called State Line, a name as plain as the desert itself. That changed in 1996, when the cluster of roadside businesses officially became PRIMM, honoring Ernest J. PRIMM, the man who saw possibility in the emptiness. PRIMM was no stranger to risk. In the 1950s, he began quietly assembling land at the border, betting that the endless flow of Los Angeles travelers would need a place to pause before the lights of Las Vegas. He brought with him lessons from years spent running card rooms in Gardena, California. Keep the food cheap, the parking easy, and the action close at hand. Whiskey Pete's opened its doors in 1977, a castle-shaped outpost named after a local bootlegger. The building promised more than just a tank of gas. It offered a taste of Nevada's legal gambling, just steps from the California line. Ernest's son, Gary PRIMM, joined the family business, and together they shaped the property with a hands-on approach that set them apart from the distant, corporate casinos up the road. Dealers and cooks knew the owners by name, and the PRIMM family kept a close eye on every detail, from the neon signs to the steakhouse specials. The strategy was simple but effective. Catch the motorists who couldn't wait for Vegas, or who wanted one last spin before heading home. PRIMM's early years weren't about glitz or spectacle. They were about meeting travelers where they were, turning a lonely stop into a destination. The town's new name was more than a tribute. It was a statement of intent, stamped on the border and built to last. By the early 1990s, the PRIMM family's ambitions stretched far beyond a single roadside casino. In 1990, they unveiled the Prima Donna Resort, a gleaming white hotel planted firmly on the Nevada side of the line, with hundreds of rooms and a casino floor, ready to handle waves of weekend travelers. But the real leap came in 1994, when Buffalo Bill's Resort and Casino opened its doors. Its Wild West theme was only the beginning. Towering above the desert, the Desperado roller coaster soared 209 feet into the sky, among the tallest in the world at the time. Riders braved a drop so steep, it became a legend among thrill seekers, and the coaster's yellow tracks were visible for miles along Interstate 15, daring drivers to stop and try their luck. Inside Buffalo Bill's, the star of the desert arena could seat 6,500 people, enough for touring acts, rodeos, and boxing matches that drew crowds from both states. Families found more than slot machines and card tables. There were log flume rides, arcade games, and a sky-high drop tower. The PRIMM cluster was no longer just a pit stop. It was a full-scale destination, built to capture every kind of traveler. In 1998, another piece fell into place. The Fashion Outlets of Las Vegas opened next to the Prima Donna, launching with more than 85% of its storefronts leased. Tour buses from Los Angeles arrived daily, unloading shoppers eager for designer deals. By 2007, the mall was nearly full, ranked among the nation's top outlet centers by sales. On peak weekends, parking lots overflowed, and the casinos buzzed with activity late into the night. PRIMM's formula, cheap rooms, big attractions, and endless shopping, had created a borderland empire, powered by the steady churn of travelers between California and Nevada. In March 2000, California voters passed Proposition 1A, opening the door for tribal casinos to offer slot machines and table games across the state. Within a few years, places like Yamava, once known as San Manuel, rose from modest bingo halls to sprawling resorts with hotels, concert venues, and restaurants that rivaled anything found in Nevada. For Southern Californians, the promise of Vegas-style gaming suddenly sat just an hour from home, without the long drive through the Mojave or the need to cross the state line. Amanda Bellarmino, a gaming researcher at UNLV, draws a straight line between this wave of tribal casino expansion and the slow unraveling of PRIMM's fortunes. The numbers told the story. The weekend crowds still arrived, but weekday traffic faded as more Californians scratched their gambling itch closer to home. Affinity Gaming executives described the new reality to Clark County officials. Activity at the border was now heavily weighted toward weekend business, leaving the casinos half empty much of the week. The convenience that once fueled PRIMM's rise had shifted west. Instead of a necessary stopover, PRIMM became an outpost, too far for a quick getaway, too small to compete with the spectacle of the Strip, and no longer the only game between Los Angeles and Las Vegas. The border town that once thrived on restless travelers now found itself bypassed, as the very market it depended on disappeared into a new world of local choices. In March 1999, the PRIMM family handed over operations of their borderland empire to MGM Grand in a deal worth over $600 million. But the land beneath the casinos stayed in family hands. MGM's arrival brought a new era of corporate oversight, replacing the hands-on approach of the original owners with layers of management and quarterly reports. For 8 years, MGM controlled the 3 casinos, but the shine faded as a competition from California tribal resorts cut deeper into profits. On April 10, 2007, MGM sold the PRIMM properties to Herbst Gaming for $400 million. Another swift handoff, this time to a company best known for its gas stations and slot routes. Herbst hung its Terribles banners on the casinos, but the timing could not have been worse. The Great Recession hit, and gamblers grew scarce. On March 23, 2009, Herbst Gaming filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, surrendering control to its lenders. The properties limped along under court supervision, with maintenance delayed and budgets slashed. In 2011, the reorganized company re-emerged as Affinity Gaming, but the old stability was gone. Employees who had once worked for the PRIMM family now answered to distant executives, their futures uncertain with every quarterly call. By 2017, Capital Partners took Affinity private, completing yet another transfer. Each new owner arrived with promises, but the cycle of sales and restructurings left the casinos battered. Walls that once echoed with the sounds of weekend crowds now showed the quiet scars of deferred upkeep and lost direction. The first cracks appeared at the mall. In late 2017, Fashion Outlets of Las Vegas defaulted on a $73 million mortgage. Within a year, lenders foreclosed, and the property's value tumbled from $125 million to just $25.5 million. Empty storefronts multiplied as tenants left, and by the time the mall was rebranded as PRIMM Outlets, the crowds were gone. Retail workers packed up displays and locked their doors for the last time. The once busy corridors fell silent, leaving only murals and shuttered gates behind. Then, in March 2020, Nevada's pandemic shutdown closed every casino and shop in PRIMM. Buffalo Bills stayed dark for nearly 3 years. When doors finally reopened, the Desperado roller coaster, once a beacon for travelers, remained silent, its yellow track gathering dust above an empty parking lot. On December 17, 2024, Whiskey Pete's closed its doors under a county waiver that allowed the building to stay dark for up to 3 years. The nearby truck stop kept its slot machines running, but the castle itself went quiet for the first time in nearly half a century. Just months later, on July 2nd, 2025, Buffalo Bills ended round-the-clock operations, shifting its few remaining concerts to PRIMM Valley Resort. Hundreds of workers lost their jobs, some after decades on the same casino floor. With only one casino left, the town's daily rhythm faded. On big jackpot weekends, lines still snake out from the lotto store at the border, with thousands waiting hours for a ticket. One last taste of hope in a place built on chance. On December 17, 2024, Whiskey Pete's closed its doors, marking the first time in decades that PRIMM's tri-casino model collapsed to a single full-time operation. Over 9,000 people once lined up at the lotto store in a single day. But inside the town, the 380,000 square foot mall sits nearly empty, and Desperado's coaster remains silent. Evidence from Clark County records and business filings shows a steady progression. California's tribal casino expansion after the year 2000, repeated ownership changes, financial defaults, and the pandemic all undermined PRIMM's ability to survive on weekend surges alone. Yet questions remain about the long-term future for PRIMM's remaining casino, and whether the planned Southern Nevada Supplemental Airport will ever bring new life. Today, the fate of PRIMM stands as a documented lesson in how regional competition and shifting travel habits can erase even the most visible landmarks at the state line.